My Ignite presentation is called Empowerment Through Connections in Social Studies. I believe it is important for students to make connections to social studies content in order to empower themselves to want to make a difference in their community or society. But first things first, what is social studies curriculum? It will be quite complicated to give a presentation, and we weren't sure exactly what we were discussing. Oftentimes you'll find that a lot of people only think of one thing about social studies education, that's supposed to inform students about the past. Well, social studies can very well do that. After all, we have a ton of social studies textbooks that seem to do that. They focus on the past as those not connected to the present. We see the material coming from them as being final and unquestionable, allowing our students to feel as though social studies is not connected to them. But what if I were to tell you this is not the case? What if I said instead that social studies curriculum is all around you in everyday encounters? Remember that Big Mac you bought the other day? Yeah, that came from a multinational corporation company that is a leader in globalization, which is a concept taught in social studies. So, with this in mind, maybe it's time for social studies educators to rethink how we teach social studies to our students so that it can align better with our everyday encounters. We need to show students how social studies is connected to our everyday lives. In doing so, we can create an opportunity for them to be informed and empowered. Now, connecting social studies to students' everyday lives may prove to be challenging, especially after hearing about Peter Sex's talk about the collective memory approach, where we just want students to internalize meaningless facts that have no connection to their everyday lives. However, if we do want them to learn the material and actually connect to it, we have to steer away from this approach. Cleo Cherry Holmes actually proposes an idea of where teachers get the freedom to choose what we teach and how we teach as a way to align better with student interests and desires so they can connect better to it. Now, a lot of people see his approach as problematic since most educators find themselves at a standstill with the standards that we're expected to teach. Well, there shouldn't be a case for this. I mean, yes, we see standards as being at the top, but what if I were to say we should flip it and see it instead at the bottom? What if it was our foundation? What if it was what we could expand and deconstruct so that we can become better teachers and make better connections to our students with the material? I think this could possibly lead us to empowerment through social studies. Ultimately, our students will see more relevancy this way, and they can basically have their voices lifted up, especially if they are a minority, because then now the standards are going to be deconstructed so we can see those minorities' voices in the standards. There are endless possibilities in how we can connect material to our students' lives and empower them. In history, for example, Michelle Alexander related the Jim Crow back in the day to the current new Jim Crow that's going on with the incarceration of Black Americans. This could empower students to take action. With Adolf Hitler and Vladimir Putin, there's a lot of controversy going on in Russia right now with the annexation of Crimea, but a lot of people can understand the situation better when they relate it to what Hitler did in the past, and maybe this can help students be empowered to understand more of what's going on. In geography, we learned about how energy efficiency is huge about where we live and how we live. Are there sidewalks? Are they being used? Are our communities tightly knit? These kind of things can change how our students think. Looking at this map, students probably be shocked to see that the U.S. actually has one of the highest poverty rates in the developed world, and maybe it can empower them to really think about this issue and want to make a change once they see it visually on a map and how it connects to everywhere else. In economics, we keep saying, we should give to people, but like this person's showing, we don't need coins. We need change. We need true change that is going to impact our entire community and not just these little things like buying Tom's shoes. And another thing that could be interesting to students to empower them is just learning about the history of things that they come encounter with all the time, such as engagement. What does that ring mean? Maybe we'll be empowered to move away from stuff like that and stop wasting our money. You never know. But in civics, we can also learn about voices that are often silenced in our nation. Gay marriage is a huge issue going on right now, and maybe if they understood what those people were facing, even though they might not agree with it, maybe they'll be more empowered to try to defend them and help them take action. And also even those who are being racially profiled, again, we may not all agree on it, but we should know that right from wrong. We should know that these people are being served an injustice, and we need to help them have their voices heard. So by making connections to these kind of things, we can really empower our students as educators to make a difference in our community. We can show them that social studies is connected to their everyday lives, like we just saw in history and economics, geography, and civics. And in doing so, we could possibly potentially create a better society for everyone to live in and help our students see why social studies matters. We say it often, but a lot of times students don't see the relevancy, and I think that is our goal is, again, empowerment through connections in social studies.